Hi, my name is Bree.
And I'm Tag.
And together we are
Bree and Tag.
And we are the hosts of the Totally Random Thoughts podcast. We wanted to recently really hone in on and figure out how to most accurately grow our podcast to hit some goals that we had in mind, as well as growing our social media surrounding the podcast to really help with audience retention, views, all those types of things that everyone wants to do when it comes to making their podcast successful. So we started working with Kim.
We started working with Kim Parkinson of KP Creative Media, had a wonderful meeting and got a better plan in place for us to be more concise with how we do our marketing. And everything that she has suggested, we have implemented to date. And we have seen an instant change in all of our metrics and our show. And I cannot say enough about how Kim has helped us already in just such a short time. If you have a podcast, absolutely talk to Kim about helping you grow your podcast, because we can say without a doubt that in a very short time, she changed the direction of where ours is going.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Thanks, Kim.
Everyone go follow her, listen to her podcast, and utilize her to help you grow yours.
Sometimes all it takes is a second set of eyes or third set of eyes to take a look at your podcast and just offer a few different tweaks that is going to expand the reach of your podcast exponentially. So today I have a podcast coaching call that I am doing with Ashley Costello. Her podcast is the Resilient Kid podcast, and she just had a few things that she even said herself was just obvious that she just overlooked. And we did a 15-20 minute podcast coaching call with her, and she was able to walk away with a few actionable steps so that she can then go ahead and make those and grow her show. Now, this episode was from February, so please go look her up. I've left her podcast in the show notes, and I hope you really enjoy this coaching call. Now, if you would like to be a coaching call or have another set of eyes on your podcast, I am opening up a couple of slots in my calendar for you to be one of those people that I just take a look at. It's just a couple of actionable tips. I spend a few minutes looking at your podcast before we meet, and then I offer you just one or two little tweaks that you can do over the summer or whenever you are listening to this, and you can just make those tweaks just so that you can get some more downloads. If you would like a podcast coaching call with me, please reach out at kim@kpcreativemedia.com and just tell me that you'd love to be part of a podcast coaching call for podcasting for your spiritual business. Yep, that's right. That's what you're listening to. Podcasting for your spiritual business. I'm Kim Parkinson. And without further ado, here is that coaching call with Ashley Costello of the Resilient Kid podcast. Hello there, Ashley. Welcome.
Hi.
How are you today?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you. Where are you calling in from today?
UK.
Nice. We were there a couple of years ago. We went to London. I loved it. It was amazing. I loved it.
Is it cold and wet and raining?
No and no and no.
Okay.
Yeah. I went in late October and it was beautiful, actually. Although we did go to Stonehenge and there was a drizzle. That's okay.
Yeah.
It was okay. It was fitting for the day.
Yeah.
So, but yes, it was beautiful. We got to do the London Eye and do the Trafalgar Square and all that fun stuff. You know, all the things tourists do.
Yeah.
I played tourist.
Do you know what? We do that as well. It's lovely. London is a good place to be a tourist. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. I know Chantel has joined us. Hello, my darling. So, Ashley, I am going to get started and just kind of walk you through a couple of things that I see. just so you know a little bit about who I am, if Chantel hasn't told you, I am a certified podcast growth coach. This is what I do for a living. I help people grow their shows. I've had multiple people get into the top categories in Apple in their field, top 100. And then I've also seen clients that have started working with me, and within the first couple of weeks, 4 weeks, a month or so, they have seen people come into their world through their podcast. So it's just these little tweaks that we do. And so this is just like a taste of what I do offer. So I do have packages. We can talk about that if you want it. But this here is just like a little mini audit, and you can do a couple of little tweaks, see if it grows, see what it does. And I'll give you some ideas on some things that I see that you can generally fix, or Chantel can generally fix, however you guys do that. So, but I'm happy to do that. So I'm going to jump right in unless you have any questions for me.
No, go ahead. Go.
All right, great. Excellent. So the very first thing that I see when I bring up your podcast on Apple and Spotify is your cover art. So your cover art does not have the name of the podcast on it. Right now, it is just a large graphic that says Season 9 with Ashley Costello. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That is you, right? Okay. All right.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I should have put that on there.
Do you know what? Now you've said it, it's like, oh my God, that's so obvious. But
Yeah, well, these are the things that I look at. These are the things that so, and you know what? It could have happened, to anybody. Like, you change it and whatever. But so my goal here, my thought process here is which I do know, actually, I went to your website. So you are award winning. So you are well known. So if you want to leave your photo in there, my suggestion here is that beautiful pink dress is great because it goes with your color scheme. I would remove the background and then make you a little bit bigger in the cover art. And then I would make sure that your title goes from one end of the podcast cover art to the other. That is super important. And here's the other thing I'm going to say about your title. Drop the right away, today, whatever, because the is not a keyword that you can actually search. It's just not even needed. So I always tell people drop a, any articles, and then drop any word, like if you had podcast, just drop it. And then create your podcast cover art so that you can put the at the top. You can still say the in the intro and all of that. But for the cover art and for discoverability on podcast players, just drop the or podcast, which you don't have the podcast. So that's good. All right. So now the other thing in regards to this is now you're calling it the Resilient Kid. But I think you might be able to just do a little tweaking to the podcast name to bring in a little bit more of some keywords. Now, I know that you have, I have 4 tiny pages of notes here that I did. So I don't know. I did listen to the latest one that released yesterday, the low mood in kids. And I have a few things to say about that too. And again, none of what I'm saying is a reflection of what you're doing. I'm just giving you some ideas on how to improve things. If you want to continue to do it the way you do.
We're here for him.
Yeah.
That's what we're
absolutely.
So
okay.
It won't be, we won't take it personal. We're here. You're the expert. We're here for it all. So.
Okay, great. Excellent. I never want you to feel like, oh my gosh, that was terrible. No, I'm trying to bring you up, lift you up some. So here. So the Resilient Kid, I understand that, but let me first thing here. So you have the Resilient Academy is the name of your website that I see on there. Would you say that you are more talking about a resilient kid or resilient parenting?
On the podcast, we are talking more about the audience is parents and educators. So we are talking to, parents really there. Mm-hmm. The Resilient Kid name came about because, so I'm from North in the UK, north of England, and we have like a saying, where I'm from, like our kid, meaning that could be your sister, your cousin, your friend, but it would be somebody that you would hold close. And when I rebranded, probably, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago, the Resilient Kid was a name that we did because it was in a TED talk of mine, a TEDx talk of mine. And then I became known as the Resilient Kid, and that's just kind of how it's evolved. So we have Resilient Kid, Resilient Teen, and the Resilient Academy is just a way of keeping all that together, isn't it, Chantel, really?
Mm. Okay, first of all, what I heard there, and I did not know, so we're gonna reach back out about that, is that you're a TEDx speaker. So that needs to be somewhere on here. So we're gonna talk about that in a second too. But for your name, what I'm proposing that you perhaps look at is adding on a title extension. And that would just be either something. So I wrote one down here. I wrote down therapy and tips for raising strong kids and teens, something like that. It would be a lot longer to get that. You do not have to say it in the intro. You do not have to change your podcast cover art to reflect the new name. The name would only be placed up on your podcast host, and that would be just for searchability. So you wouldn't actually be rebranding the podcast. You can still call it, although I would definitely drop the, sorry. I still would drop the, but I would call it Resilient Kid. And then again, some really key SEO words like therapy, raising, strong kids, strong teens, tips, things like that. And add those in there because that is going to be the things that people are searching for when they're doing their, I want to listen to a podcast about raising strong teens. You're going to pop up. So that's some things that you want there. Now, you have as your name, The Resilient Kid by, do you have a question?
She is not just an award winner and a TEDx speaker, but she is also an author.
Okay.
I wondered what you were going to say then. I was like, for a minute.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna real quickly talk about the name on your podcast, but then we're gonna dive into the description because that's super important. So another piece here is you actually have your name as The Resilient Kid by Ashley Costello. So that is the title of your name as the host in your hosting platform. Remove The Resilient Kid by, because you don't need it, do Ashley Costello, and then add in some of your names, add in some of your accolades as far as I believe you have other pieces because you're a psychotherapist. So you could say, psychotherapy, or you could say, teen expert or something like that. That is also going to be searchable. So remove all the rest of the beginning, keep your name. And then what I like to do is on the keyboard above the enter key is that line there, Chantel. That's what I like to use. I don't know what that's called. I wish I did, but I don't. I know. I don't know.
We all know what you mean.
Okay, yeah. I like to use that and then just some type of a title that people are going to be searching, that people could be searching for.
Okay.
All right. We're going to dive right into that description because your description, and I also know because you're using Anchor, so I know you're very limited on your podcast description. Anchor does not allow you to have very much as I think it's very short, like 500 words or something like that. So we're going to have to try very hard to stuff in as many keywords and the fact that you are a TEDx speaker, an author, an award winner in that little description. You don't need to mention the Resilient Kid podcast again. You don't need to say hello. You don't need, like right now it says, discover the power of resilience with the Resilient Kid podcast. Nope. We want to start strong. We want to be like TEDx speaker, author, and award winner Ashley Costello speaks about, and then what you speak about specifically. We want all those keywords, bam, 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 right there. Because podcast players first look at the podcast name, which is why I started with that to get that. Then they're going to look at the podcast description. And that's why we need that to be as almost, and I hesitate sometimes to say this, but with Anchor, I don't have any other really great way to say this. Stuff that about as full as you can with keywords. Full as you can, because you don't have very much real estate in Anchor. If you were to move to someplace else, you have a lot more real estate, but I know Anchor doesn't, which is fine. You can stay there. Absolutely no problem with it, but stuff that with as much keywords as you want. Mention, I didn't know that you, based on this, based on your description, I didn't know that you were a TEDx talker, an author, and a award winner. So it does say that you're a seasoned psychotherapist, and it does say you're a visionary founder of the Resilient Kid. Those are fine, but my goal here is to really get a hold of some of those real amazing keywords, because people TEDx speaker holds weight. People love that. People love to hear that, see that. And if they are if they're doing a search on TEDx speakers, wouldn't it be great if you just popped up because that was in your description, right? So
Cool.
yeah. All right. I know that there's a ton of other pieces here that you could do. There's a couple more pieces here that I might want to just like kind of gloss over. Unless you, which I didn't hear, unless you are needing to put in some type of a disclaimer that this is not medical advice, which I know I've worked with other therapists and other kid therapists actually. If you need to put that in, then I would see the understanding of the intro. But nowadays, just omit it. Remove it completely. We do not need it. We do not need 15 seconds of music. And we don't need you to do like a little chapter of like, this episode is going to be on low moods in kids. Nope, we don't need that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Just start right away. Capture them right away. Just be like, all right, so this week, I think you talked about this week being a blue week. Just this week is the blue week. You want to know why it's a blue week? This is why. And just go right in.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm also, I have so many thoughts. Oh, do you have a question, Chantal?
Does she not mention herself or anything? Or
Not that I heard in the first, in the one that I listened to.
The way that you would want it, would you say that she would just start with the episode and then somewhere along the line introduce herself for those that are new? Or
Yeah,
No.
yes. So you can absolutely do that organically in every single episode, and I do even in my own podcast, and I suggest that. So you want to just get started right away and be like, this is Blue Week, and this is why it's a Blue Week. And hey, by the way, I'm Ashley Costello, and you are listening to the Resilient, you can still say the Resilient Kid, and then whatever you want to say. And today we're diving into why this is a Blue Week. So let me just tell you, on you go. So you can have it in there organically, and I would always add it in there organically. And that's how I usually start my podcasts is I will, and let me also tell you, I start them that way, but sometimes I don't start them when I record. I go back and I record like an intro, because sometimes I get kind of like on a track. And then I'm like, you know what? That really needed a little bit more explanation at the beginning. And I create just a little 30-second clip at the beginning to talk about what it is that I talked about. And then I just add it seamlessly in. It just kind of
just like a highlight almost of.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. You don't need it. I mean, like I do have clients they do their intro, and then we do a tiniest like 3-second clip of music just to denote that was the intro, and then we're diving into the episode. You could do that if you wanted to, but it's not necessary. Totally up to you. Yeah. One other thing, and this is probably actually more of a Chantel thing. Does Chantel do your editing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Chantel, my darling, when we have a conversation, I'm going to introduce you to something called Auphonic.
What is that?
Auphonic is just a website. It's a little app website, and it is absolutely amazing for normalizing audio. So when I listened to your podcast this morning, I had my speaker on 100, and I still was having trouble hearing you.
Oh, wow.
But if she runs your podcast through just Alphonic, and you get 2 hours free every month, or it's very minimal cost, like literally like one time charge for like hours and hours. But if you, and what it does is it will take that audio and it will actually make it so that people don't have to listen on like the highest setting and they can hear you. So, and that's all it does is it normalizes the audio. So, but it's a amazing tool that I always keep in my back pocket. I love to tell people about it because it's such a miracle worker. So it is such a great tool. So that is Auphonic, Chantel, in case you didn't hear that. So, all right. Any questions about what I've told you? I've loaded you up with a bunch of stuff, and I want to make sure that you don't feel overloaded. But if you have any questions.
Yeah, no, it just like when you're saying it, Kim, it just sounds like, why didn't we think of that? Like, why, and it's funny because there's a few times that, Chantel and I have had a discussion about, should we carry on with the podcast, and we have families that are like regular listeners, they'll message me on WhatsApp or email and go, oh, thanks for that today and stuff. And the numbers aren't massive, but then I think, oh my God, like we've got a fair amount of content out. Why are you just going to stop it like now, kind of thing? And it's one of them where it is time consuming. I do like doing it. So the more that we can use it and the more that we can spread the, any tips and tricks we're here for. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The beauty of this is just a few of these tips that I've offered you here will help you be seen by a wider audience, which I think is what you're looking for too. And then the other pieces that I help with and the other pieces that, you and Chantel can talk about is like organically adding in CTAs. Now, I will be honest, I did not listen to the end. I listened the first, 14 minutes, I guess. Something like that, of the 22-minute episode. So I didn't listen to the end to see if you had a CTA, but having a clear call to action in every episode, and sometimes organically within the episode helps too. If you had any testimonials from people, you could maybe read some of those, or they could read them. If Chantel's been listening to my podcast, at the beginning of each of the episodes, starting in January, what I've been doing is I've just been having any clients that have been doing testimonials speak on SpeakPipe. And then I just add them to the beginning of the episode and I rotate through them. I'm going to rotate through them because it's just another way of people, validating what you're doing. So there's a couple of different like tweaks that you could do like that. You do have guests on, so that's great. If you want guests that are also have a podcast, because you may be then able to do a podcast swap. So you might be able to say, I'd like to be on your podcast, but first come on mine, that type of thing. And people that have podcasts have a tendency to share their podcasts. And it's not a hard stretch for their listener to say, I'm going to go listen to that one. So you're like borrowing their audience, so to speak, which is great.
Oh, yeah.
How does that feel with you right now? How does that feel? Did I cover pieces you wanted to know? Did I not cover something that you wanted to know?
No, absolutely. They were, they're really like easy, practical tips we could do. Really quickly.
Yeah. And so you have 103 episodes. And at this point, each of those episodes should be getting about 100, the minimum 100 downloads every 30 days.
Not even nearly.
Yeah. So these tweaks will just help you kind of grab more of an audience, especially since you are an award winner. I would love to have seen in that award. And you know what? I'm going to double check it right here because it's up here. I would love to have seen that it said somewhere on there that you were a podcaster.
Yeah.
Or even speaker, podcaster, TEDx speaker, that type thing, only because that's going to then bring people over to the podcast. Speaking of also, and I know that Chantel can do this very easily for you, the podcast button. While I love that you have the guest speaker up there, or, be a guest, and I love that you have the listeners lounge, you should also have a feed to your podcast there. It's just a simple, easy feed.
On the website?
Yeah. Because here's the thing.
Okay.
You're going to then send in your social media, because on your Instagram and Facebook and all that, you're going to say, listen to my podcast, and you're going to say theresilientacademy.co.uk/podcast. And so what's going to happen is they're going to go to listen, and then they're going to go, oh my gosh, she does all these other things. Let me go take a look. And they're going to poke around, and then, maybe join your newsletter, maybe buy, maybe do, so just another little tip there. You have some great information there. I would not move that off of the podcast page. I would just maybe push it down and then put the feed up at the top there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Just so people
and
can
that
listen.
feed, Kim, because obviously I'm not as tech savvy as Chantel. That's why I have Chantel, because she's amazing. But that podcast feed, is that just to get them over to the podcast, or is that like the weekly feed? Like, do you know what I mean?
So there's usually two different options, and I'm not as familiar with Anchor or Spotify for creators as I am with other feeds, but there's usually a feed where all she has to do is put the code in one time, and it will update every time you update an episode. Or there's also another feed just specific for that episode. So like if you wanted to do a blog post about that episode or something like that, you could put that right and embed that right into the blog post. So
cool.
there's usually two different options.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. All right. Anything else I can help you with today?
So yes, you can tell me what your podcast is. I would love to know what your podcast is, and then have a listen to that. See an expert in action.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So my podcast is Podcasting for Your Spiritual Business. So I help a lot of woo type women, but not just them. So I have pastors and ministers, and then I have priestesses and light healers, and I help a whole array. But all of this information is for anyone. It's just when I niche down to one. Well, first of all, I didn't really niche down. They niched down for me, by the way. They just flooded in, which was amazing. But the best part is that when I'm trying to connect people, because I know all of these people, I can usually get like a podcast guest for them and type thing. I can, kind of do that. But I will say, I did just help a woman that does something similar to you. So if you are looking for a podcast swap, I might be able to connect you with her.
So where is she based?
She's here in the United States, and hers is Single Parenting with Connection, Not Perfection. And
I like that.
Yeah. So she, like I said, I think they're kind of adjacent. You might want to listen to a few to make sure that she's not like a direct competitor or anything like that. But I do feel like if you wanted to, I could definitely make an introduction for the two of you guys. So, and that's what I love to do. Not only do I love to help people with their podcast, grow their podcast, but I love the connection piece. And I never know who walks into my world. So amazing.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. And the spiritual side is definitely up mine and Chantel's street. Anyway, we're always, talking about that kind of stuff. So cool.
Yeah.
Oh, Kim, honestly, I can't thank you enough for your time today. It's been brilliant. I'm gonna go away and have a listen, should I say, not a look, have a listen to your podcast, and get some details of you from Chantel for you as well, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. I'm here. This is what I do, all the time. So whenever you're ready, just reach out, and it can certainly, we can go through a lot more. I took 15 minutes worth of notes before the call as you were talking. So I'm sure that if I have these, then I'm sure that there's a lot more there that I can, when I dive in deeper. So
cool. Yeah. Cause you probably get it, but we get all the time like, oh, you're not being seen, your podcast not being heard, blah, 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 emails and stuff. And I ignore them because I think, that can just be anyone. Whereas the minute that Chantel said, oh, I know somebody, she's really good, I was like, yes, like, absolutely. So honestly, it's been brilliant today. Like, just that straight away that's easy, fixable.
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. And I will send this recording over to Chantel too, so she has it. And with your permission, I may post this as a podcast episode if that is something that you're agreeable to.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
Fantastic. So if that is the case, then please would you introduce yourself and tell the world the name of your podcast?
Resilient Kid by Ashley Costello, award-winning psychotherapist, TEDx speaker, and podcaster.
I love it. That's amazing. Good job.
I was like, I can't remember what you said. So yeah.
You did it. It's amazing.
Oh,
Chantel,
brilliant. Thank you so much, Kim.
you are very welcome. Chantel, do you have any questions for me?
I have no questions. I'm sorry that I missed half of the chat, but I'll definitely listen to the recording. And I'm sure we will make some changes and hopefully see an increase.
Yeah, no. So this is not going to be an overnight increase. I do want to let you know
No.
that it's not overnight. But right now, January through the end of May, beginning of June is our podcast growth season, just so you know. But January through May, end of May, beginning of June, you should see your numbers increase with just a few of these tweaks. And so,
Brilliant.
yeah, definitely get on them. And then none of them have to be hard. Like I said, don't rebrand the whole name of the podcast. Just add those into Anchor.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time, Kim.
You're very welcome. It was a pleasure to meet you, Ashley. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.